and I believe the relevant changes are explainable and salvageable. I know.
All right.
Okay.
This is gonna be good. This is gonna be good.
Which word do you want? Do you want explainable or do you want salvageable?
I'm like, please, I'm all ears. Explain it away. Frigid Perrin's wife, like, I know. This is funny. This is funny. Let her explain this, and we'll respond.
Well, I'll be honest. I feel like we cannot pass up like the use of the word salvageable. Like people that love a show don't refer to things as salvageable.
Yes.
Because salvageable implies that it's busted crap that we can maybe
that
fix
something's
later.
broken.
Yes. So, oh my god.
You know, do you get the feeling like when people make videos like this that they maybe themselves don't particularly like the thing that they're trying to defend, but they feel like their certain ideological beliefs like put them in a position where they have to defend it because like the show or whatever did like something that they like believe in or they support, like how it had the female things and the Aes Sedai and stuff like that. Like I feel like they're almost just trying to justify it because it gave them what they wanted to see, but in the end it wasn't what they really wanted.
Oh, I 100% believe that she actually doesn't like the show. I 100% believe that she is disappointed by this, but that she bought into the Amazon push narrative that, you know, hey, we're pushing the right politics here.
Yeah.
And she's in too deep and can't deny it now. She's committed to it.
Yeah.
And I think she's deluded herself into thinking that she likes it. I don't know if that's...
I don't know. I get a lot of things from people that have talked about the show, and I'm like, you know what? It's like, we don't have to agree ideologically on stuff like that, but, like, I think we could all get on it and say that this was for many different reasons, and the reasons will be different for each one of us. Like, this isn't what anyone wanted, and it's okay to say that, and it doesn't make you, like, some nasty person, or does it make me a nasty person? And you know, we can agree on stuff. It's okay.
Yeah, the number of comments that I've seen about this show that are like, yes, I was really disappointed with it, but I don't want to criticize it too much because people might think I'm a book cloak. Like, first of all, Jesus, be a bigger wuss. You know, have less backbone, but also, damn, like talk about, you know, ceding the narrative to the opposition. Like, you know, I don't like it, but I can't say things because I'm afraid. Like,
I mean, this is like such a great metaphor for like how stupid like the kind of Aes Sedai BS that goes on in later books are, how stupid and petty the kind of disagreements they have. Like, this is a great metaphor for that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I'm also going to say we're gonna get to the Aes Sedai bullshit.
Yep, let's go.
The biggest turnoff for a lot of people was the fridging of Perrin's wife, who didn't even exist in the books.
I feel like we could probably both go on a Layla rant, but yeah, there was literally like no reason to do this. She didn't need to exist, except that it just goes into the like Rand and Queen Perrin love triangle.
Yes, I love how she views Perrin murdering his wife as a bad thing. Not because it's a blatant deviation from the books and it's going to irreparably damage his character moving forward, but because it gives the haters something to complain about. Like,
yeah.
I feel like I feel like I'm watching one of those Manson cult videos where like one of the women is saying like, I'm really upset that those people were murdered because it's going to give people something to criticize Charles Manson for. Like, that's what I feel like I'm watching.
I know, and it's bad too because it's like what did the frigid the wife thing do? It's just like it was the moment that the show writers used for this character to like that. It was what was supposed to happen when he was with Egwene in the books. Like when he's with Egwene and they're getting attacked, they're getting run down by like the Whitecloaks, and then the wolves are there, and he actually thinks about like, I would kill Egwene to save her from these people. And instead of like having somebody like think those thoughts, which is really hard to like, express like to show on a TV screen, but you could have him say that to somebody later on, be like, I actually thought of doing that to my friend and I love her as a friend or whatever. I can't believe I actually had the capacity to think that. That could be a conversation he has with the Tinkers. But like, show not tell. And but like instead of having that happen, it's like they gave him this moment where he accidentally kills his wife.
Such a massive thing to drop on somebody. Like, and it is, and it's like the only way they could think to make it like less significant is to be like, nah, I mean, yeah, he loved her kind of, but he also wasn't that into her. Like, he was kind of into Egwene. Like,
no, and then at the last episode, it turns out, no, I love Rand.
I firmly maintain that he has always loved Egwene, but
No, that's what he says in like when Rand is left to go off into the play. Like Egwene's like, I love Rand, and then Perrin's like, I love Rand too, and I'm just like, oh my god, stop.
I maintain that they're not going to be gay, but I also cannot criticize anybody for feeling like they might be, considering what the show has done.
Yeah. Well, we know what Ray said, so.
Fridging is a term for when a loved one is hurt, maimed, or killed in order to further the plot of one of the characters or motivate that character. It's named for a storyline in Green Lantern: A New Dawn, where a villain leaves the corpse of the main character's girlfriend in a fridge for him to find.
Sure that I've given you my lecture on fridging, right?
Yeah, probably.
Oh my god.
It's just like, it's such a like lame way to do character growth. Like I've told this to people. I think we talked about this when we talked about fan fiction, is that like there is this fan fiction trope where your character is whatever traumatic incidents that like happened to you. And no, it's just a lazy writer's trick. It's like, oh, here's a traumatic thing. Well, that's now your personality. No, your personality is how you respond to the traumatic incident. And it shouldn't be something you just do to give something the character to respond to. It's like there's other ways of showing character growth. It's just lazy.
I almost go the opposite way on it. The issue that I take with fridging when it comes to stuff like fan fiction is, sort of as you say, it's just a way to justify, a personality change that the author doesn't like in the original work, or to break up an official ship that the author doesn't like. I disagree that fridging is illegitimate if done effectively.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can do it effectively, but like, it's the idea of what I said. It's like, you're not the traumatic incident that happened to you, it's how you respond to it. So if you have a character have something traumatic happen to them, and then what is their change in there, and that's what you're exploring, versus like, say like, oh, this is a traumatic incident that happened, and that like this is their personality now. It's kind of like goes back to like when people say they get the representation, and this person's sexual identity, their gender or their race is their personality, and that's not the good way to do it.
No, I agree completely, and I agree that using a fridging to make just to make somebody edgy is not the ideal. But I guess I would point out that, in the case of like Spider-Man and Batman, Uncle Ben got fridged. Thomas and Martha Wayne got fridged.
Mm-hmm.
Those are fine sort of like inciting incidents in a story. But when it's just, when it's used to just make somebody darker, edgier, and gay, it's not legitimate.
Nope.
My personal rant on fridging is basically that we should stop calling it fridging. That Gail Simone came up, who's a fucking horrific comic book person, came up with it because she was trying to come up with sexist tropes that need to stop. And her argument was that by killing the girlfriend and putting her in the fridge, she is being objectified, which is therefore a type of sexism.
Wow.
And yes, like, so that is where that term actually coined it. Like, she coined that term as a radical feminist term. as with all things Whale Simone related, it's just horrible, and it basically should only be used to troll people who actually worry about this shit.
Yeah, I agree.
I wish this hadn't happened in the show. It gave the haters a pretty solid talking point. She literally didn't even exist in the books, and then they created her just to murder her. But without getting too much into spoilers, I will say that it gave non-book readers, without the benefit of the internal dialogue we get in the books because Perrin is very introspective, a reason to buy Perrin's dilemma throughout the series regarding violence. And
okay, I'm just going to disagree and just go back to what I said before. It's like you could have just had Perrin talking to the Tinkers about his thoughts. That actually makes sense. It's just like he finds the Tinkers after they've been running with the wolves and after they're running from the Whitecloaks. And it would be very plausible if he just said to one of them, I was so scared. I've never been so scared in my life. And I was so worried for Egwene. I thought they were going to kill her. And in that moment, I thought I would actually be willing to kill her to save her from that fate. And you could have a whole scene focused on that and where they tell him, where they're trying to counsel them with their own philosophies. But no, you did not need that stupid wife scene there. And just having the actor just stare broodingly into the fire.
I guess I'm going to take this a step further. Very, very, very stupid people think that Perrin's axe versus hammer sort of journey and question is about pacifism versus the willingness to do violence. Perrin was never a pacifist. He thought the way of the leaf was dumber than sin. Like,
Yep.
He's a natural born predator. His dilemma with violence is between being a rampant predator who believes in following his violent animalistic urges and in being a human who has the rational ability to decide when violence is necessary. Like, that's why his battle is between...
Yeah, the conflict goes with him asking him, like, do I like this? Like, he's so worried that he might actually enjoy fighting and enjoy killing people, and yeah, the show just missed that.
Yeah, and I mean, I firmly maintain, and I'm more than willing to admit I do not have the receipts to back this up, but I am firmly in the camp that this is a Robert Jordan Vietnam experience where he was dealing with, people out on his squads who had basically gone, full on native and were just basically gone full violent. And it's maybe it was something that he was even tempted into.
I think that's a pretty common, I think that's something that would happen to anyone who was a soldier at any point in time. So it's absolutely like I'd be surprised if that wasn't in there, and it makes it so meaningful. And oh my goodness.
Yeah, but instead, because morons are running this and morons didn't understand the show, Perrin is now a vegan pacifist.
Yeah.
When people get confused and somebody says something stupid like, well, it's really not a good metaphor between pacifism and violence when you can actually do violence with a hammer. Like, do they think they're smart? Or do they not get that they're just not understanding the metaphor?
Yeah, they don't understand the metaphor because obviously, it's a hammer can be used for something other than killing, and the axe can't. Well, I mean, I don't even know that particular axe in question didn't have the dual use. I think that was what he ended up saying, but
either way, it drives me to distraction, and I'm utterly baffled by it. Like if the goal was pacifism, like, you really think Robert Jordan wouldn't have been smart enough to make it like the difference between an axe and a fishing pole? Like,
yeah, exactly.
His overprotectiveness of a certain character that we'll meet later in the series.
Sorry, I keep stopping this, but I fucking despise Perrin in this show.
Yeah, Perrin is not even a character. He's like who was it, base space there saying it was he's recurring extra.
Yeah, I would make the argument that is Perrin overprotective of Fail in the books?
No.
Fail is a 5'5", 120-pound soaking wet woman who only carries daggers and has the self-preservation instincts of a lemming. Perrin absolutely needs to be protective of Fail.
Yeah, he does
Oh,
protect her, but at the same time, she's the kind of person that's like, I protect myself. Thank you very much. Like, yeah,
yeah.
moving right along.
Oh,
It was simply the shortest distance from point A to point B, and at least Layla was not the only woman in the series. Far from it.
do you have any idea what she's talking about here?
They're trying to say the Layla storyline accomplishes what had needed to happen to Perrin in the most efficient manner that they could have thought of, and that's just wrong.
I totally get you there. I guess I was more questioning like, what do you think she means by this particular line when she says like, at least she wasn't the only woman.
Oh, she's saying that like, oh, it's not like she was the only woman in the show. Like there's so many other women in the show, so it's like they still have their representation, and it's not like they just fridge the only female character. And yeah, I think that's what she was going at.
Okay, gotcha. I was baffled by that.
And before she went out, she showed us how much of a stud she really was. She was no damsel in distress. Pour one out for Layla.
I'd rather
I
not.
mean, pour one out for the show, but like, are we very comfortable with the fact that Layla killed more Trollocs than Tam Althor? Like that Layla and Daisy Conger have 2 Trolloc kills between them, and Rand, Matt, and Tom, or Rand, Matt, and Tam also have 2 Trollocs killed between them, with one of them being a complete accident. Like, as much as I love that Layla was a stud, maybe Tam Althor should have been a stud, but
Yeah.
fuck it.
I generally prefer my women not to be studs, but hey, this is 2022, and what is a woman even?
Ugh.
Matt not going through the Waygate was a change that the writers clearly did not intend to happen, but it did happen. Thankfully, it sets him up for his book 3 plot, where he needs to be in Tar Valon, so we can get that incredible quarterstaff scene that we've all been waiting for.
Like, maybe I'm just an asshole, but I kind of liked the Great Hunt. I was kind of hoping, like,
I like it too.
we're
It's
going to
like
see the Great Hunt.
adventure story, but like, it's like, oh, he has to have that. He has to be like, there's other ways of getting him to Tar Valon. Like, and honestly, do you think the character that has like basically comes off as like kind of like a drunken miscreant, like that steals from people, he's not trustworthy, he doesn't take care of his friends, he abandons people, do you think that person is going to want to get into a quarterstaff fight with Gwaine and Galad? Like, do you really think that person would have that? I mean, like the show would like hamstring those guys with a freaking dagger and like steal all their money. Like,
Right.
Matt is not going to fight them like book Matt did.
I'm also very confused how show Matt is alive on account of the fact that the Red Aja are going to capture him, and the Red Aja clearly have no issues just
Killing
capping
people,
a dude.
Yeah, pretty
mean,
much.
I'm also very confused. Like, if you are the Dark One and you have your Dark Sisters, and one of the Taveren that you need is locked up in the tower, isn't your number one priority getting him out of there?
Yep.
Well, you know what? I suppose getting Nynaeve was also probably his top priority, but he had 1 Trolloc in charge of that, so fuck it, I guess.
Yeah.
Apparently the Dark One's a fucking moron too.
Perrin seems to take some of Matt's plot points at the end of the season, setting him up to chase the Horn in season 2 and hopefully find Elias, which seems likely because it looks like he's been cast, and some of the images that we've seen previewed, particularly the Murdral nailed to the door, look like they might have Elias in them, giving us
What?
Any comments here? I mean, I suppose it's fine that we just didn't bother to develop one of our main characters at all.
And
'cause
I
fuck
mean,
it.
okay, to be perfectly honest, given what the show has done with Perrin, what's the point of having Elias? Like, what is he going to teach Perrin now? He has nothing to learn. Like, he hasn't given him this opportunity.
I'm fascinated by this because it's not like Perrin is going to be able to do anything. Like, Perrin's still a guy. Like, he's still not going to be allowed to have thoughts and opinions. Like,
Logain gave us one of the most wow moments in season 1. Nynaeve going absolutely Super Saiyan with her talent, which is healing.
How is that way more Logain? That's way more freaking Nynaeve. I love Logain. He's like one of my favorite freaking characters, my freaking avatar for fuck's sake. But I actually liked how they used Logain, except the way that they used it in the show, like, I mean, it's like, he's the only good man. I mean, come on. Like, how they set him up. It's like, you know, he's defending his kingdom. It's like they show him with the scene with the King of Gleeden. It's like, he could have killed that guy. Instead, he healed that guy. He took his dagger and gave it back to him and said, you know what? You should leave. My freaking brother watched this, and he thought Logain was a freaking hero of the show. And I can't even say he was wrong. And up until he does that stupid cuck speech in the White Tower, he was cool. I was like, okay, maybe there's something good in the show. But I was wrong. So wrong about that. They butchered Logain. They make him horrible. I hate it. Like,
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. If they had cut that speech, 15 seconds earlier, I could say one positive thing about the show.
Yeah. But nope, no. Your ticket has been revoked for the Logain train. Go away. Anyway.
I agree with her that, like, this was a wow moment, but it wasn't like, wow, this is great. It was like, wow, this is deeply retarded. Like,
yeah, I know. It's like you can't even fault Logain because he was just defending himself. And then it's not even about Logain, it's like about Nynaeve, like, oh, I'm gonna do something that would have normally in the book taken me like a long time to even learn, but I just magically know it, and bam, you're not dead anymore.
Yes, because we're clearly playing a JRPG and we can just AoE heal people, which is totally how healing works.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if Logain can't see her weaves, why the fuck is he blinded? I also like how going Super Saiyan is not something we're saying about the Wheel of Time. Like, that's a totally rational, normal thing.
Yeah.
I would argue this is probably the second coolest thing that happened in season 1, and without Logain...
What a damning indictment.
Set dressing. Ugh.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have happened. Giving us more Aes Sedai early on, in my opinion, was a great hook. This show was a breath of fresh air for female fantasy fans.
I was talking to my friend X about like why he got banned from like our Whitecloaks Reddit or whatever it was, and he was saying because he made a video called "If This Is What Feminism Is, I Don't Want It," or something like that. I agree. The women in this show are awful. It makes me hate women. Like, this did nothing good for women. It was awful.
I guess I just want to take a step back. Like, she talks about like it's a breath of fresh air for female fantasy fans, and I just want to ask her, like, in what way? Like, women doing politics? We had that in Game of Thrones. We had it in The Witcher. We had it in Arcane. We had it in Carnival Row. We had it in Shadow and Bone. And that's not even going into things that came out afterwards, like The Order or House of the Dragon, Rings of Power, like even something dog shit like Sandman. Like,
I mean, or like the other thing too is like, I don't need to see women to feel like I have like a connection with a character. Like, I don't need to see myself on screen. I don't care. I have compassion. I have empathy. I can understand what other people go through. I don't need to see that representation.
Okay. Yeah, you shouldn't need to see the representation in the first place. Like, you shouldn't be identifying with characters based on their gender exclusively, which we absolutely know she does. Even if you are that kind of person that does need that, how is there an absence of women representation in fantasy? There's a dozen shows out right now that have this. Like, I can't think of a fantasy show out right now that doesn't have it.
Yep.
Can you? Because I can't.
Nope.
I guess the other thing here is, okay, if she's read the books, does she get that the White Tower is a bunch of, like, evil backstabbing bitches? Like, the majority of the White Tower is
a certain
evil.
A certain demographic of, like, people out there would think that that's an example of women being strong, and it's like, oh, women are acting like men. Like, that's good for women. I'm like, I don't think so. And I strongly disagree, but.
Yeah, and I just find it baffling. Like, the White Tower literally is a representation of institutional rot and, like, the failures that come if you don't have gender complementarianism. Like,
yeah, exactly. That's the main theme of the book, too. It's like the whole thing. It's like you can't have all women in one organization. You can't have all men. Like, why was it called the Age of Legends? Like, what was so special about? Because the Aes Sedai were men and women working together. That is why the symbol is the white flame and the, like, black, whatever they called it, like the dragon's fang thing, together in a circle. It's unity. It's like, oh my goodness. I could just rant on that for days. That is a main theme of the books.
Yes, it absolutely is. And like, if you find yourself cheering for the White Tower, like, you probably need to evaluate yourself in your decision-making processes, because you're probably a sexist. Like, I'm just going to make that call right now.
You're not wrong.
Bringing White Tower politics into it, and the unique relationship that Aes Sedai have with their warders, sets up for the White Tower drama that is to come.
Oh, you mean the like plot point where you have a warder lose his Aes Sedai, and he gets to go, and he's going to be bonded by this other Aes Sedai that has 2 gay warders, and he decides he would rather kill himself than be with these gay guys and their Aes Sedai. That plot point.
Or the one where the women decide for him that you know, that he needs to get married, so they're just going to do it. Like, Jesus. Like,
yeah.
I don't know which was worse, the Warder Bond or the White Tower politics, because oh boy, were the White Tower politics terrible.
And you know what's really, I would say, in using their own term here, problematic about this is that throughout the novels, forcibly bonding someone against their will is referred to as rape. Like, it's like akin to that. So, like, you think if these people are so, like, you know, gender parity, all this stuff, equality, like women empowerment, they would not be advocating for this to happen to people regardless of their gender. But, like,
no, I mean, you're 100% right. It reminds me of, like, if we were in the 1700s and a woman's husband died, and the entire society was like, well, you know, you're a woman over the age of 20 and you have to be married, so we just picked somebody out for you. Like, that's legitimately what they did.
Yeah.
I'm also still baffled by the Aes Sedai politics being looked at as a highlight.
Oh my god, yeah, this was such a drag. It was like I could see you doing like a political like plot later on when we've actually become invested in what happens to these characters, and the characters have some motivation for doing this political stuff. Like, it happens later in the books, like when Egwene becomes like Amyrlin and stuff. Like, that's why we care about the politics, because there's so much more at stake. At here, it's like, why do we care about any of this stuff? Like, who cares if like they're about the Moiraine and Siuan like story? I mean, that added absolutely nothing to the show, and why do we care? I mean, what stakes are there for them? Like, oh my gosh, they might find out that they're lesbians, and it's kind of like when Moiraine tells Leonie, like, she's like, oh my god, I saw you with a man. Like, okay, groomer.
Right? I'm baffled by this. Like, so Moiraine sees Leandrin just murk a dude. And at that point, the entirety of the Aes Sedai politics ended with Leandrin tattled on Moiraine for, what, not being around the tower enough?
Yeah.
And instead of tattling back with, yo, I saw y'all murdering people, she just, like, said, all right, yep, you got me. I guess I gotta go into exile now. Like, the politics were stupid.
Yeah, it wasn't even like coherently done. It's not interesting. It's not well thought out.
Rain made for some excellent TV, especially given the 2 actresses that they landed for these roles. And Rand not blasting the Trollocs and
Rand not going nuclear, like, the
I guess I wanted to go back to the Moiraine and Siuan relationship. What was it about this that was so appealing? I mean, like,
I don't know. It was weird and uncomfortable, and like, I mean, they did it, but it did not look like either one of those women was really like into it, or they didn't really want to do that. Like, it was just weird and kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, I firmly believe that people were just like, oh, middle-aged interracial lesbianism. What an amazing relationship. Like, bro, if that's the criteria, like, go to Pornhub. You can see it, and the tits won't even be saggy like this was. Like,
Yep.
Jesus. Anything else to add to this one? Because I seriously feel like we were talking about like people who just clap for the virtue signals. Like, I feel like this is a classic example. Like, this was not a well done lesbian relationship.
I didn't like it because, again, like, how does this advance the plot? What information does it give us about the characters? Like, what character development? Like, it does nothing. Like, if this was here, would we even miss it? It wouldn't. It could ended up on the, like, cutting room floor. It's just like, oh, look it, they're lesbians, and again, like, box checked, you know, it just did nothing.
Yeah, and we know that it did nothing because it didn't make her broad brushstroke summary of the plot.
Exactly.
Harwin's Gap was 100% fine with me. At the end of The Eye of the World, the girls take a major backseat. In episode 8, Rand fought the Exes.
So I have zero doubt that the Rand getting his moments taken from him were fine with her.
Okay,
but,
if
you know,
Rand
we've
doesn't have his
that...
moment, how is he going? How is he going to fight later at what was that place called? I can't think of the name. Oh, at Fome. Like, how is he gonna do that? Like, if he can't even do this, if he's just sitting here saying, "Oh, it's not what she wants." If he can't be a man, how's he gonna fight? And it's like, I think she talks about him, like, the fighting, like, this isn't a fight. This is, like, a mental battle. It's like, the only time Rand uses his sword successfully is to kill himself in a dream. I'm like,
yes,
this guy is not going to save the world. This guy is not going to save women. It's like, you know, Rand, he goes around, and for all you can criticize Rand for going out and being like, I don't want those women to die. They shouldn't be fighting. And you can say whatever you want about that. But, like, dude, freaking Rand here, it's like, he couldn't even stand up for himself. Like, how is he going to save the world? This guy is awful. Like, whoever named him Randall Simp is perfectly right.
Can you imagine this guy telling the Maidens of the Spear no, they can't go out and fight?
He won't
right.
do it. It's like, that's not gonna happen in here.
Jesus. I also like how she's totally fine with Perrin and Lan getting benched and not doing anything. But,
yeah.
You know, God forbid any of the women not be the star for one single second.
Yeah.
Existential battle, which is perfectly appropriate given what happens in the series. And the girl...
Rand has an existential battle at the end of the freaking book. And you know what? Given all of his previous battles where he actually fights people with one power, where he kills people with his, like, heron-bladed sword, it actually kind of works and is actually refreshing because he lets his friends fight and do what they want to do while he has the moral existential battle at the end. It works at the end. It works not at the beginning, because the character that has an existential battle right now, when he isn't learning how to take care of himself and fight for himself, is not the person that's going to be able to do it at the end.
I couldn't agree more. This fails on at least 3 levels that I can think of. Like, I guess, first of all, this show has utterly failed to demonstrate what the fuck it means to be the Dragon Reborn. Like,
yeah, that is not at all there.
Yep. Secondly, Rand hasn't had his epiphany yet.
He hasn't.
There hasn't been Veins of Gold. How can you have an existential battle before he's had his existentialist revival? That's
Yeah,
really
how
fucking
he
stupid.
has not gone to his darkest place. I mean, like, the problem with this, too, is he can't have an existential crisis or anything. Like, when he hasn't even done anything, like, what does he do in the series? He does nothing. In the show, I mean, like, he just follows the girls along for the ride. Like, he's just there. It's like he has no agency. He's just there to support the girls in what they want to do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And the third thing, you touched on it. This isn't an existential battle. He's not pondering the value of free will and humanity.
Yep.
He's thinking about Egwene. Like, this isn't Kierkegaard. This was like Finn and Rey Skywalker all over again. Where he's just running around shouting, like, Egwene, and wanting to make sure Egwene is happy. Like, talk about a lack of a hero's journey and a lack of a transformative moment. Rand started the season simping for Egwene, and ended the season simping for Egwene. Like,
Exactly.
Jesus Christ, what a disaster.
I know, and it's
Really
like,
able to lend
it's just like, yeah, is that even kind of a healthy relationship there? Even if you want your female characters at, like, the beginning, is just this man that is just not going to actually do anything to actually support, like, the female. Like, no, he's not doing anything but saying, hey, if that's what you want to do, honey, go and do that. That's fine. He doesn't care about himself at all. Like, but yeah, let's continue.
There's a character section of this video where we hear about what she perceives Rand's characteristics to be.
Oh, yeah.
We'll touch on it there.
their power to the fight instead of just sitting back. And in case anyone's worried about power creep, most of these women died. So I don't think we have to really worry about this being replicated. And
that was so stupid. Like, it was so dumb. I mean, everything about that, from how the battle happened, to the amount of cavalry that the Shienarans had, to the way the wall was set up. It was just so bad, and if anyone wants to see it, definitely watch the rewatch on that, because you guys fucking killed it, but...
Yeah, I also find, I find the idea that we don't have to worry about this being replicated to be absolutely nonsensical. Like, you know, if you have 5 Aes Sedai, like, they would probably be able to break the flows of this, right? Like, the only ones that had actual Aes Sedai power live.
Yeah.
So then, also, how is the last battle going to be special if 100 Aes Sedai can give up their lives and end everything? Like, right? I mean,
Yeah, good
this
point.
is an absolutely
It's like,
world-shattering mechanic.
Yeah, this should be, like, this kind of a sacrifice and this kind of a thing should be worthy of the last battle. And if they start, like, season 1 at this level, like, where do you go from here? There's nowhere to go.
we don't know how trained Amelisa was. She didn't get the shawl. That doesn't mean she didn't have any power or that she was completely untrained. Matt's a little darker.
Oh, we gotta let her go on about Matt. We have to listen to Matt.
So what? That makes him more interesting sooner.
How is it interesting? I'm like, dude, this guy is evil. He's not even, I wouldn't even call him a protagonist. He's creepy. I watched this and he just gave me Hunter Biden vibes. Like, he's so, he's so scummy and nasty and not like Matt from the books at all.
Zack Snyder has clearly damaged the brains of a generation of people in the sense that, like, they just think that darker somehow means interesting and complex, when really it's just not. You know, it's just they're just dickish. Also, I love how she has quotation marks around the word criminal here. Like, like it's somehow in doubt. Like, we didn't see him on screen rob a woman.
He robs a woman. He left his friends. It's like, ugh.
I also love the visual here. Like, this scene that she chose. This is the scene where Matt pulls his sisters out of a great hiding spot into the middle of a battle so that they can then run into the woods where the Trolloc army just came from. Like,
it makes no sense.
Oh my god.
Plus, we saw him with his sisters. He still has a great heart. That's the Matt.
How does he have a great heart? It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, people talk about, like, oh, he'll do anything for his sisters. Like, he lives for his sisters. He does everything for his sisters. I'm like, motherfucker, his very first introduction in this show is him losing a whole bunch of money gambling. Like,
Yeah,
You
how is
can't
that
lose
good
a whole
thing?
bunch of money gambling and then say that he provides everything for his sisters. That's not how that works.
It isn't, and it's just like more like, would the person that would even do that save his booty care? It's so silly, and it's like, I seriously have to question like the moral standards of somebody that would say that would actually say this is good, or say like that's a good character change, or like this is a good version of Matt. Like, we're not the same. That's all I have to say.
Yes, clearly.
That tells you Abel Cauthon is anywhere near the top of their list of favorite characters, they're lying. He's basically just Tam Althor light. He's always at Tam's side, and there's nothing particularly interesting about him, so making him darker in order to make Matt a more complicated character makes a ton of sense for the TV show. Now we...
Like, oh my god, dumpster, I could just throw some fucking lighter fluid in, because that was one fucking garbage take. Like, how do you say that? How many times does Matt talk about what he learned from his father? Like, there are good dads in this book. Tam is an awesome father. Tam is, like, the reason why freaking Rand doesn't go crazy. Like, Abel comes out, too. Abel taught freaking Matt how to be a good person and a good man. He taught him about horses and all the stuff that Matt uses later. He's not Tam Althor light. He is a good person. Men are important. Dads are important. And, like, having these good examples in literature is important, because you know what? There are lots of men reading this and boys reading this, and they need to have good role models in their life. So shut up about that. Like, you do not get to criticize that. That is just an insanely bad take.
It's one of those things, like, she starts out with, like, Abel Cauthon isn't anybody's favorite character, which, fair. Nobody has ever claimed that Abel Cauthon is their favorite character. But Abel Cauthon and Tam Althor represent the wholesomeness and small-town values that did matter. Like, it is a fairly major point in the books that Rand does better than Lews Therin because he was raised better.
Yes!
So
dads matter! Oh my god!
So deciding that, you know, rather than having a strong and interconnected community of positive role models, we're just going to get rid of that so that Matt can be an abused, edgy boy.
Yeah,
like,
because suddenly, like, just being dark and makes somebody complex, okay? No, it doesn't. It just makes you an asshole. It makes you selfish. It makes you just, you know, not somebody that I really care to even watch, because I know enough of these people in my freaking life, and I can already tell this is not what I need to, like, base my, life decisions on, or I even care, because that's just toxicity and negativity. Like, to go back to her point, it's like, yeah, why would you want to watch this if it's so negative and dark and stuff like that and bad?
I agreed completely. And I just, like, you talk about fathers in the show. Jesus Christ. Abel Cauthon is a fuck up. Tam Althor got downgraded from badass to buffoon who can't even kill a Trolloc. Fucking Bran Alvear gets dunked on in his only line. Swain's father abandons her.
Yeah.
And then the warders all have a scene where they all talk about their abusive fathers. Like,
you know
Jesus
what?
Christ.
Do you get the feeling that maybe this just says something about the writers and not the, like, source material? Like, maybe this is them expressing, like, you know, I kind of get it when people look at this kind of stuff and say these things that they do, is this says more about your own skewed, like, perception of the world than, like, what really exists. This is your, like, projection of what you believe and what you think in the world, and, like, I have to say that just seems to happen in the show.
Yeah, you know, after the seventh, like, shithead father, like, it's really hard to chalk it up to coincidence at this point. Like, somebody on the writing staff's dad fucking abandoned them or didn't give them enough hugs as a child, because holy shit, somebody has an axe to grind.
Yeah.
Might even get a redemption arc from him. And
okay, I'm just going to say, like, redemption arc, okay? Redemption arc happens when you have some character, like, they either fall from grace or maybe they're not in a good part and they want to be better and make things right. Like, where Matt's already, like, at freaking, like, the lowest point he could possibly be. Like, what could he do that's worse? Like, how could he even redeem himself? Like, nobody trusts him. They think he's a fuck up. Like, what would be the point of a redemption arc? Especially when you have other characters saying it's not the dagger that made Matt evil. Matt is just evil.
So I agree with you 100%, but your brain auto-corrected her stupidity. She was not talking about a redemption arc for Matt. She was talking about a redemption arc for Abel Cauthon. As in, this show is going to take time out of its day to do a redemption arc for Abel Cauthon.
Nah, bro, I don't think they're gonna do that. They don't give a shit. They just need... He's a bad dad, like all men are. Men are evil, right?
Well, I guess even ignoring that, I cannot imagine how furious I would be if this show wasted time on a redemption arc for Abel Cauthon.
Yeah.
When our freaking main three are still, like, not even remotely developed yet. Like,
Yep.
the timing involvement in that would just be a fucking disaster.
And why would they
Oh
do
my
it?
God.
Because they why would they even want to redeem that character at all? I don't think there's
Yeah,
any
and
motivation for that show to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I almost chalk it up to the same thing as Perrin. Like, you know, I can forgive a lot, but I have a really hard time forgiving, like, infidelity. Like, that's just not something you want to redeem.
Yeah.
As for the who is the Dragon Reborn mystery, it can be more than just the three boys. I think that makes for great TV.
You know what?
Readers guessing.
I'm just gonna stop and say something. You know what made Who is the Dragon, where it was a great literary mystery device, was in Game of Thrones, where that actually was like, there was a prophecy and the language turned out that the person, like, in question could be a female or a male, but for, like, it actually comes out in this story that it's just been misinterpreted because it could go either way, and everyone was just assuming it was a prince when it was a princess. That makes sense for Game of Thrones. It does not make sense for this frickin' show. And if they would have done Logain like they did Logain in the books, and I was actually going to do a video about Logain in the future, so I was like just reading all of his sections, and when I read all of his sections together, I could see what Robert Jordan was doing, and through Logain, he gives like a complete foreshadowing of what's going to happen to Rand. Through what people say about Logain, we learn what who the dragon was, and what the Dragon Reborn, like the threat he presents, and how it has to be a man. But, like, you know, they decided to ungender the magic system, so, like, does it even matter? Like, ugh.
I couldn't agree more. I also, like, so by saying the Dragon Reborn mystery box keeps non-readers guessing, I just have to ask, like, is she sure she likes the books? Because if you like the books, why would you not want the books presented faithfully in this matter?
I don't know, but this is so funny, and I wasn't the only liker. I've told my story about my brother watching it, and he knew that Ren was a dragon, like, immediately, and then Aldan, his kids watched it too, and he said his kids figured it out, and both of them for the same reasons from watching anime. I mean, if three people that don't, like, that didn't even, like, I don't know about Aldan's kids, but I know my brother only saw, like, 3 or 2.5 episodes. If those people can figure it out that have no background in this whatsoever, like, did they really do a good job?
Right? Literal children figured out this mystery.
Yes. Yeah.
Cloaks angry, and it gave us a super fun reveal in episodes.
How was that a fun reveal? It was boring. I wanted to gouge my freaking eyes out.
I guess my favorite part here is when she's like, it's good because it made book cloaks angry.
Yeah, I know.
Like, first of all, wow, what a spiteful bitch. But also, Jesus. Also, yeah, a fun reveal in episode 7, like, where Rand nutted so hard into Egwene that he had an epiphany. Like, that's your idea of a fun reveal? Like,
yeah, that's...
Jesus.
It had no weight to the plot or anything. It might as well not have happened.
Yeah, and I also say, like, The people that talk about this like it's a great mystery, like the point of view character had the clue.
Yeah.
The show just didn't tell you that. That's not a great mystery. That's mystery box bullshit.
Yes, it is.
There's also got a little treat. Rand showing off his archery skills. He was shooting bullseyes once he came to terms with his fate. Feels like a nod to the flame in the void to me.
A nod. Oh my god, please. Like, for real, like, these guys were shooting, like, at the beginning. Like, oh my god, shut up.
So, like, I'm also, like, very confused because... So, why would he only be able to use the flame in the void after... after realizing he's the dragon? Like, the flame in the void isn't the dragon power.
It reminded me of like what my friends of Flaccid Phoenix say. Like, they think their tag for their channel is like providing post-nut clarity on pop culture, something like that. But isn't that what like literally happens? Like he bangs Egwene and then starts like hitting bullseyes.
Yes. Yes. Also, I love how she's like, this is meant to show off his archery. Like, he is 5 steps from the target, and his arrows aren't, like, the entire head of the arrow isn't even going into the straw target. Like, the only thing this shows me is that he has a fucking child's bow. Like, that's it. That's the only thing this tells me.
Yes. He can't even penetrate the target, but yeah.
Right? That there's a severe lack of penetration.
Yep.
And one last thing about the Dragon Reborn mystery, because I'm frankly tired of addressing the outrage about the fact that they made it seem like it could have been a girl. The idea that they might lose information, that prophecies might have been changed, misinterpreted, or mistranslated over thousands of years makes tons of sense. Not to mention
how it makes sense in Game of Thrones where it's like a linguistic quirk of a language that nobody speaks anymore. It does not make sense in this world where everyone, like, where they know about Lews Therin and, like, the Dragon Reborn, and this is just a scary thing that everyone's afraid of. I mean, if they're chasing down men who can channel because of this threat, how does it make sense that the dragon's a girl? Like,
I guess my response to this would be, the girl's not being the Dragon Reborn candidate doesn't not make sense because of the prophecies. The girls not being the Dragon Reborn candidates doesn't make sense because the girls don't channel the tainted half of the one power.
Yep, that
the Dragon
too.
Reborn
and
is,
here's another implication that I don't even think we talked about. If the dragon could be a woman, like, what? How do you explain the Aes Sedai? Like, they would be like the most freaking dangerous people on Earth if they're just consolidating power, controlling everything from behind the scenes, and then, hey, one of our members could be the dragon that's going to destroy everything. So are they a force of good or a force of evil in that case? Logic problems here. You guys do not think this through.
Right? Like, if the Dragon Reborn is a girl, like you said, that's just a super powerful Aes Sedai. And, you know, hey, considering all the awful shit the Aes Sedai do, you know, that's probably a big fucking problem. But it's not like end of the world level problems. But
it just doesn't work the same. It just, like...
The girls not being Taveren initially made me a little mad when I was reading the books, because it felt like it was setting the 3 boys up to be the main characters over everyone else.
And
yes.
Yeah, they are. Like, I don't know how to break it to you, lady, but they are the main characters of this book. Like, I'm sorry.
Right, correct. Continue.
Eventually, with Nynaeve's growth and Egwene's growth, it became obvious that they were also main characters, similarly powerful. Making all 5 Taveren modernizes the show and doesn't make audiences wait to find out that the girls are just as important as the boys. And
okay, so like, identity politics rots your brain.
Yes, it does.
Like, do you think she thinks that Taveren means main character? Like in the old tongue, like is that what she thinks the direct translation is?
And here's the thing: is that, like, you know, we debated this on our like Discord too. Is like, well, what makes you Taveren, and is a Taveren like a temporary thing? And there were people that were saying, yeah, it is a temporary thing. Like once the like pattern was done with Matt, Rand, and Perrin, they weren't Taveren anymore. And I was thinking about that like when I started rereading it, and I was like, could the characters be at different times be Taveren for a minute when they needed to be? Because I think Moiraine, when they're in Baeloron, like says something about like Egwene or somebody, or Nynaeve, I think she says, and she's like, well, she's part of it now or something like that. So I think like maybe she at that moment had a like Taveren role to play just as a pattern needed to do at that moment, or like you could make the argument for anything else later, but
I guess my argument in that situation, and it's, because Moraine says a lot of sort of similar things when it comes to talking about going to the Eye of the World. She basically says, my conclusion there was she was saying that Nynaeve is a part of it because Rand or Matt or parents Taveren has dragged her there.
Yeah, there's that too. And it's like they don't even tell us what Taveren are in the show, so why should anyone care? You wouldn't know what it is because it never explains it in the show. And it's like, that's what Loyal did in the show, or in the books. And in the show, it's like, who is even Loyal? Like, what is he? He's just a random dude ran beats in a bookshop, like my brother said. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah, 100%. And I just, this baffles me, because if we're going to say that, like, the girls are supposed to be Taveren because of how powerful they are, like, there's a lot of very powerful characters in this show that are not Taveren. That's not what it means.
Exactly.
I'm also glad that like everybody seems to agreement that modernizing a show just generally means to make it fucking terrible.
Yeah, and like, or just making it so that like everyone has equality of outcome, not opportunity, equity there.
Yep. Also, and I feel like we've made this argument 50 fucking times, but the girls being Taveren is a good thing. Like, that means their achievements are all that more impactful. Like, Rand, Matt, and Perrin are bowling with the bumpers up. Egwene and Nynaeve aren't. They have to hit the pins without assistance.
Yeah, it makes their like accomplishments. You're absolutely right. Like, it makes their accomplishments more meaningful because they weren't getting any help from the pattern or anything.
Right? Absolutely baffling. We made the women less impressive in our attempts to be feminist.
That's what happened with Nynaeve, because instead of Nynaeve being the person that stays back to take care of the villagers and then goes out and looks for the guys, because can't have women being mothers, because that's just the worst possible thing in the world.
Yeah, right. Instead of Nynaeve caring for the wounded and like doing vitally important triage, we get a fuck them kids moment.
Yep.
Ugh.
In the end, it gave us a hook. Season 2 is going to be bigger and better than ever, because who the hell are these people? Book readers know. Book readers know. Moraine's been affected.
This time we have even dumber villains.
Yep.
Also, remember, guys, power creep is not anything we need to worry about. Like,
nope.
I know the Shan-Chan just threw a fucking tsunami at a continent, but we have no reason to worry about power creep, guys.
Or like they just did something absolutely insane, like making a tidal wave to essentially kill like a single innocent child playing on the beach. There was no, like, if they would have attacked a town, maybe I could understand. There was literally no reason why they did that.
Actively nerfed, for now, yet another hook for season 2.
Oh boy, I really can't wait to see more of Moiraine. This time with even less ability to justify her moving the plot forward.
Yep.
Like, fucking A. How are we only halfway through this video? God damn.
And it skips ahead ever so slightly into book 2, giving us that hook that we're going to be chasing the horn next season. Each of those things gave us something to look forward to for season 2. They added a little drama. And you know what makes for good TV?
Not meaningless drama where there's no stakes and it doesn't advance the plot any at all.
I was going to say, like, well-written scripts, character-driven narratives, well-established and interesting characters, believable stakes, technical competence from the artistic staff, a general sense of respect for the source material.
Yep.
I wonder what her answer is going to be.
Drama.
Drama llama, go!
Y'all gonna make me lose my mind. Up in here, up in here.
Okay, yeah, if anybody wonders why television sucks nowadays, like, this is who it is written for, and this is who is writing it.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the quality. First things first. Shut the F up about costuming. It was amazing. Shut the F up about costuming. It was amazing.
How did these Whitecloaks outfits even make sense when you're wearing a freaking like pauldron without the rest of the armor? Oh my goodness, that makes no sense.
I have so many questions about this.
I just think it's really funny though about the Whitecloaks, how they all look like the Chad meme. Like I just think that's really funny.
I mean, I guess that was my point number 3 on this list. Like,
why are they wearing like hakamas that look like dresses?
I guess the electric clippers Terangriel they have in Amadisia, like these are some fresh ass fades these guys are rocking.
I know. Their hair game's on point.
Also, like, who? Okay, so if I told you that there was a character named the Whitecloaks, like there is one piece of clothing you would think that they absolutely must be wearing, right? Like they would need a white cloak. Right.
Like why else? Why is the rest of the outfit white? It's like, bro, like you're camping. Like, how do you keep that shit clean?
Right. They don't have cloaks.
They don't have cloaks.
And I guess, good lord, look at those fucking shoulder pieces. Like, I mean, God forbid we even pretend that these are metal. Like,
yeah, they don't look metal at all.
No, they look like fucking shitty painted plastic. And I'm legitimately baffled. Like, so let's hypothetically pretend that these are metal, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are like 20-pound pieces of armor. Can you imagine how fucking lopsided you would be after walking around all day carrying
Or like, why would
pounds
you even wear it? I mean, let's think about this, okay? There is a piece of Roman armor called a manica that was worn like that. It actually looks almost like that without that stupid thing on the top where it has the overlapping lobster things, and it goes around your arm. However, you would wear it on your sword arm because your other arm is going to be behind a shield. So I'm going to guess most people are right-handed, so why the hell is that on your left arm?
Yes, so it doesn't make sense from the right and left. And like even look at the white pieces that are connecting. Like if you look at the golden pauldron, like the white pieces like right below his elbow is clearly plastic. The straps are clearly plastic. Like who looks at this and says this is good?
I don't know.
Like, where is the bar here? Like, did she have to rent a backhoe to bury the bar low enough to call this amazing?
Yeah.
My God.
Whitecloaks. Swan.
Oh my God, that's ugly. Like,
right.
I like the Fabrigami like style of it, but it's just really ugly. It just doesn't. It just shows nothing. It gives no information about the Ajas or what the like Amerlin would wear or like anything like that. It's stupid.
I legitimately cannot get over those. I don't even know what to call them. Bicep pads. Like I feel like she looks like a fucking Final Fantasy villain. Like she would like cross her arms and like a big shield would pop up so you couldn't attack her. Like.
Yep.
I am baffled by this costuming choice.
The Aes Sedai.
Oh God, do we need to take about like the squad?
Costuming. It was amazing. The Whitecloaks. Swan.
They look like fucking Power Rangers.
Her thing that like her tits are in the middle of the dress.
Yeah. Like everybody else has shit up to their collarbone, but then fucking Alana's tits are hanging out. Like
that was the best part about this part. Come on, we have to admit that. But like, I mean, come on, it's so silly. And can we talk while we're talking about the costuming? Can we say how stupid it is in a fantasy setting to have like people wearing hijabs? Like, how does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean,
That's just weird.
What do you even say to that? Like, how are you supposed to argue that that's supposed to help immersion? Like,
it doesn't.
I'm just going to say it. Like, there's a reason that only, people from nationalities and religions that are hugely dominated by men wear hijabs. So, where is that nation in the Wheel of Time? Because it doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
The Aes Sedai. Could people have been dirtier? I saw that as a critique. Sure. But I literally don't care because it was fabulous. And when people needed to look dingy, they did. Important question. If you had the one power, would you walk around with dirty clothes?
My only complaint with the costumes, it looks like crap that they got on clearance from Urban Outfitters. It was awful.
Right. I'm like I said, I am baffled by this. Like,
yeah.
She didn't even touch on the worst of it. I still maintain those fleece-lined outfits.
Yes!
That synthetic fur. Like, this drove me so crazy that I looked this up. That stuff was invented in 1979. And it's not just Rand's jacket. It's Rand's jacket, Nynaeve's jacket, Perrin's jacket.
Yep.
Matt just wears a fucking bathrobe the entire time.
Yep.
I mean, we've talked about Egwene's nylon bathrobe and her elastic sleeves before. Like,
I mean, especially when
where
freaking Robert Jordan was like so anal about that in his like emails. Like, we could just say this is not what he intended at all.
Right? Like, lady, where is your standards? Like, my God.
Methinks no. I've also seen complaints.
Also, of the characters that we spent a lot of time with, isn't basically Moiraine the only one that can use the one power to do anything like complicated enough to like heal herself? So how does this argument make sense?
It doesn't.
Either that, or she thinks that Moiraine was giving Rand one power baths.
I'm not gonna go there.
Right?
Complaints about the CGI in the show. And yes, there were some scenes that they definitely could have done better. But we saw what they did with practical effects. The Trollocs looked awesome, as did
They looked okay. I will give you the one thing I thought they did a decent job of with practical effects was the fade, and that was the best looking thing on the show. However, the Trollocs looked awful. This was like the level of like some 1980s like fantasy. Like, it's not good. Like, makeup technology has gotten so much better. People have so many more skills. Like, freaking watch that, like, makeup face-off on, like, Sci-Fi Channel. It's like, they make things like that in, like, a day. I mean, like...
I couldn't agree more. Like, the pictures of the Trollocs look good. The actual Trollocs that were in the show...
No.
Don't. Like, they have some of the big Trollocs, like, in the picture... But they can't walk, so anytime a Trolloc has to move to attack somebody, they get shrunken down to 5'6", and they're shorter than Lan, and it looks ridiculous.
It looks so weird. Like the CGI is awful. I mean, and the way they represent the one power. I mean, it's like I told my ex this. I'm like, he's it is like VFX and cinematography, and I'm like, if I described a magic system that uses like 5 different elemental powers, and like the metaphor that the author uses to explain how they do the magic is like weaving, how would you visualize that? And he's like, oh yeah, you could have it like different colors, like it would be literally weaving something. But like, how do they do it in the show? Like the only time there's any differentiation is like when men are channeling.
There is occasionally, not consistently, like black around it. Like,
yeah, not consistently.
Love. Also, like, I might be misremembering. I don't think we saw a practical Trolloc after the first episode. I'm trying to remember if the Trollocs we saw on the bridge.
There wasn't that many of them. Definitely, like,
I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember if those were practical or CGI, but regardless, we do not see a practical Trolloc after the second episode. So the idea that the Trollocs look good is not fine.
Yeah.
I also, the Fade's lamprey mouth really confuses me.
Episode 8 was not how anyone planned it, and I understand and accept that COVID played a huge role in that. Because the main conflict
Here we go again. Ah, blame the coof. Blame the coof. Okay, whatever.
I find this to be just such an amazing excuse that she's making here. Like, so many shows were produced during COVID,
Yeah.
and a couple of them turned out all right. And, the fights were absolute dog shit in episodes 1 and 4, and it was stupid as hell in 7. So don't justify, it's just because of the COVID delays that the fights were horrible in episode 8. Like, absolutely not.
I mean,
Yeah.
COVID didn't ruin the story you can't take the story that they initially came up with and say that was because of COVID. No, it just sucked.
I'm gonna splice in the Sean Connery bit here.
Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
Like, it's my exact reaction here.
Yep.
Like, for me, was easily at the eye, and that looked amazing and played really well in my opinion. I truly enjoyed episode 8, despite some weirdness at the gap. This is
I don't believe her. Nobody liked episode 8. Even the people that claim to like the show don't claim to like episode 8.
Yeah.
Like, also, that ending played well for her. Like, she enjoyed Moraine's dagger at Rand's neck. Like,
we enjoyed Rand killing himself.
Right? Like, even from a special effects perspective, it isn't 1991. Like, white lights around a stationary point isn't groundbreaking stuff.
No, it's not. Copy pasta,
baffled by
freaking blight too.
Oh my god.